Good morning. Today we will be starting with our second chapter in geography. Our topic is latitudes and longitudes. I have divided this topic into two parts. Today I will be dealing with the first part, which is based on latitudes. Today's presentation will be based on the following points: a definition of latitudes and longitudes, uses of latitudes and longitudes, the detailed study of latitudes, important lines of latitudes, and the equator. So what are latitudes and longitudes? Latitudes and longitudes are imaginary lines. They are not actually present on the Earth's surface. These lines can be seen on maps or the globe. The horizontal lines are called latitudes, while the vertical lines are called longitudes. So why do we need latitudes and longitudes? These imaginary lines help us to determine the exact location of places across the Earth. With the help of these lines, we can also know the time of any place across the globe. We will now go into an in-depth study of latitudes. The first feature of latitudes is that latitudes are lines that run parallel to each other. This means that the lines are always at an equal distance from each other. The second feature of latitudes is that they are complete circles. If you look at the diagram in the slide provided, you will see that the circles are largest at the equator, and as we move towards the poles, they get smaller. The next point is that these latitudes are numbered from 0 to 90 degrees north or south of the equator. All latitudes are parallel to the equator except the 90-degree north and the 90-degree south. This is because these latitudes are simply points and not lines. As mentioned earlier, latitudes are also called parallels of latitude. There are 5 important lines of latitude. The first is the equator. The equator lies at 0 degrees. To the north of the equator, we have the Tropic of Cancer, which lies at 23.5 degrees north. And above that, we have the Arctic Circle, which lies at 66.5 degrees north. To the south of the equator, we have the Tropic of Capricorn, which lies at 23.5 degrees south, and the Antarctic Circle, which lies at 66.5 degrees south. As I mentioned earlier, the equator is an important line of latitude. It is also the longest latitude. The equator divides the Earth into 2 equal halves. Each half is called a hemisphere. The part that lies to the north of the equator is called the northern hemisphere, while the part that lies below the equator is referred to as the southern hemisphere. The northernmost point on the Earth is the North Pole, and the southernmost point on the Earth is the South Pole. These two are just points on the Earth, and they lie at an equal distance from the equator. The equator is therefore said to be equidistant from each of the poles. This brings us to the end of today's lesson. Solve this exercise to reinforce what you have learned.